Like, what if he hits the hole-in-one too early? We
On the
talked
first
about it with
time.
AT&T. We're like, go for a second one, I guess. Like,
I
I
gotta
don't
keep the
know.
stream up.
Exactly, keep the stream up. We wanted to keep it going for 8 hours, so
That if you scratch it, it will emit a smell.
I like nothing about this. No, because, okay, first off, New York City is not exactly known for its smells, especially in the summertime.
Well, it's known for smells, but not those that you want to take in your nose. It's that time again. Another week of Brands in Play, your home for all things bleeding edge immersive marketing. And this week, Albane is out on vacation, so I got the legendary technologist, designer, and business strategist Lee Kebler filling in today. He's the co-host of one of my favorite podcasts, TechMagic from Adweek with Kathy Hackle. Lee, stoked to have you.
I'm jazzed to be here. It's going to be a fun show, for sure.
Yes, and you're an OG radio guy, so please help me get through this episode. What are we going to be talking about today?
Oh, so much, and a lot of it very interesting. Today we're going to be covering the Roblox child safety issues, which if you don't know about that, are you living under a rock? Reese's with Taylor Swift. There was a huge cultural moment because, of course, it's Taylor Swift. Meta Ray-Ban sales are going through the roof. I didn't call this one, so I'll definitely have a lot to say about that. And you posted something about scratch-and-sniff billboards, which has me worried. But all that's coming up.
Yeah, we're going to dive into those billboards. They're definitely bizarre. Lots to unpack there. But later on, we'll be sitting down with my friend and colleague, the head of studio at 100 Thieves, Alex Wechsler. But first, let's jump into the news.
Let's go.
All right, so Lee, stoked to have you on the show, man. It's a long-time listener, first-time collaborator, I guess.
That's not true. You were on our show. That's not true.
That is true. Okay, fine. So now I'm paying it back.
That's right.
Busy week. Did anything happen? Any news? Any like high-level things with your life you want to share?
With my life, okay, so the reason I'm able to do this podcast is because our podcast is currently on summer break. And so I had the availability this week to jump on. So the timing was great. So it's been really calm. You know, we're just kind of wrapping up our summer break. I think a lot of families are doing the same. So no, not a whole lot, just kind of hanging out right now.
Well, we're stoked to have you. In my life, juggling a ton of stuff. It's the end of the summer. Kids went back to school, thank God. And I had one interesting project that Sawhorse just launched that I just wanted to mention. For Diet Coke, we made this web-based Gen AI co-creation sort of web app. And I just want to give a shout out to our lead developer, Matt Moreland, who crushed that project along with the rest of the team. But just also super stoked on Coke in general, just because they're so leaning into the AI space and they're down to take risks. And they've just been a really great collaborator.
It's awesome. You guys always make great work.
Well,
I'm not
thanks.
just saying that, genuinely. Every time.
We try, but there's a tons of great work that we're going to get into and talk about on this show today. But let's jump to the news.
Yeah. So I think the big one that we are kind of trying to filter through is Roblox seems to have found themselves in a really tight situation that goes all the way back years. There's some real child safety issues. I'd love to get your take on this. Some of it focusing around things that have happened where someone was trying to bring up, hey, there are these unfavorable people in here who kind of maybe, might be, probably, definitely are, could be child predators, and something should be done about that. This leads to an upcoming documentary that we've yet to see. Chris Hansen of To Catch a Predator fame, which was a show that I remember watching, has a documentary coming out that's actually that's working with this expose. I have mixed feelings and emotions about this and questions because there's obviously things that could have been done better. At the same time, as a developer who's worked on this platform, I do know that there's been a strong effort to locking certain things down. And so I don't fully know. I want to see this documentary, but I don't really know where obviously you want to get anyone who has negative virtues off of any platform, especially if there's children involved. Let me start with that. But the expectations, I feel like, do kind of shift when some of these conversations leave Roblox and go to places like Discord or,
Hmm.
on other chat systems and things like that. So you're a little bit closer to the metal. You do a lot of development on Roblox. Love to know what you kind of think about this as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, it's a horrible situation that's happening on Roblox
Totally.
right now. And I think that, there have been cases where horrible things have happened because of, these predators having access to the platform, being able to communicate with young children and then leading to horrible things. I will say that Roblox does a lot for child safety. There's a ton of moderation. Speaking from experience, when we upload images for things that we're building on the platform, they often get flagged, and there's nothing wrong with them. It's just like, is there some sort of word,
Yeah.
trying to be hidden in this thing, or is this a piece of nudity? And it's like, it never is. It's just art patterns. But I mean, that's the level of like constant, screening that goes into this UGC platform. But at the same time, things get through, and clearly, it's a big issue they need to resolve.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that there's been some mishandling of people that have tried to bring this up that have gotten banned or removed, and yeah, this has obviously been an ongoing issue. But I will say this: as someone who I grew up watching Chris Hansen to catch a predator, I'm definitely from the AOL Instant Messenger chat room era, and is my background in understanding Chris Hansen was he always went after the predator, found the predator, got them arrested. I don't remember him ever holding AOL Time Warner's feet to the flames for, their system that's involved. Now, granted, that is not a system that was also directly marketing towards kids. So I get the difference, but it is kind of interesting that we're hearing more about the platform and less about the actual perpetrators. So I'm very curious
Right.
to see this documentary.
Well, I think that, it's a broader problem that isn't just unique to Roblox. I think that any open UGC platform has the potential for horrible things. And you
100%.
can't control everything. I think it just depends on what level of energy gets put into the moderation and the control that the
Mhm.
platform does. And I think we've seen similar mega backlash moments like this on platforms like Twitter and
Mhm.
Instagram and YouTube, all the meta platforms. And, I think these platforms, they figure it out whether they are proactive or reactive. They clean up the site as much as possible. They police it as much as possible so that it can grow and become a safe place. I think this is a bit like a reckoning moment for Roblox. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, well, you're doing a lot, but you need to do more. So that's where we're
Totally
at.
agree.
Okay, well, very curious to see the doc. Very curious to see how the story develops over time. Jumping into my first story, I want to talk about Reese's and Oreo and how they capitalized on the big Taylor Swift cultural moment that happened on the New Heights podcast, which is co-hosted by football stars Travis Kelsey and Jason Kelsey, and it basically broke the internet. Taylor Swift made a surprise appearance on that episode, and it got over 407 million views. Are you aware of this story?
I vaguely, yes. I think everyone saw it when it happened. You couldn't get away from it. Yeah, it was definitely kind of an interesting debut. Frankly, I didn't know about the podcast in general, so
Me
I
neither.
think
I was
it did
living under a
really
rock on
well
that
for the
one.
for the podcast itself, for
Their
sure.
audience is almost as big as TechMagic, I think.
Oh,
Like a
yeah,
close
sure, clearly,
close second.
yes.
But yeah, so let me explain like why we're covering the story on Brands in Play, because it is, in my opinion, immersive marketing. So she goes on the show, it's unannounced, and she announces her new album for the first time at that moment, and she starts talking about all the thought that went into it and what it's going to be about. She talks about having her orange era, and it's sort of like the orange color that represents her mood and represents the album. And she also really goes into the concept of going into the vault to get unreleased tracks and then kind of rework those and put those inside the album. So she basically gives this information online in real time, and the internet explodes. And one of the main sponsor of the podcast is Hershey's, and they own Reese's, and they were planning on releasing a new product and planning on doing their own marketing and promotion for that was already completed. But they were smart because they saw this and they figured out how to draw all these parallels. And within 24 hours, they totally revamped their campaign and aligned it with everything that she said. And it launched. And that marketing actually could capitalize and ride on that wave, and it exploded. And I think I could just point out, the things that the parallels that they drew. Essentially, they were talking about how uh, orange color obviously is like the classic Reese's
Yeah,
color. So they're like leaning
totally.
into the orange. Also, this concept of like going into the vault. The product itself is a Reese's and Oreo kind of like a mashup. And they were talking about how that product's been in their vault for a long time. So it's like this thing that they finally have released. So, it just worked. And I think for me, I just wanted to bring it up because it resulted in so much engagement. It's like staying relevant. It's like staying fluent in pop culture, and it's the speed at which the brand was able to twist that creative and launch was impressive. So, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, anytime you can make those parallels, I don't know if it was as quick as a shift as it's being portrayed as, and I say this as, like, Taylor Swift and obviously all of her brand marketing and their partnerships have such a long vision and history
It's a
of
good point.
just, like, being sneaky
Yeah.
with those type of things, so it definitely feels that way. That's the narrative, and it's working. Is that the case? I don't know. Does it matter? Absolutely not. Absolutely.
Fair. Well, I think the 24 hours thing is maybe, if that's fake, then whatever. But I do think aligning yourself with pop culture properly and being able to like keep your marketing and your conversation organic with
Yeah.
with the masses is still interesting.
And let's be real honest. I think that the brand definitely was the big winner here. Like that investment of getting on the right podcast, investing in the right space, like you one would say you can't buy that kind of press, but obviously they did, but I think they got a deal for sure.
Well, they spent the money wisely. So
Yes.
props to Hershey's for crushing.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's your story? Your next story?
Yeah, so the Meta Ray-Bans have always been a really interesting product to me. I I've always thought, yeah, exactly. You've got them. I always thought that what made the Meta Ray-Bans really popular is the fact that they made the right partnership.
Yes.
That's the partnership that needed to happen because we all saw Google Glass and we've seen these attempts before and they're always just a default pair or clip-on or something like that. But the fact that they partnered with a pair of glasses, kept the look that people wanted was huge. And evidently it was the right bet because it looks like from the data we're getting that Luxottica's H1 earnings for 2025 have tripled under the Ray-Ban Meta smart glasses. That's a year-over-year revenue. And they say it's driven by the Meta AI integration. I tend to think that that's accurate. That is the thing that I think it's currently really pushing sales. I think everyone wants to start seeing something happen inside the lens, and it's not currently there yet. Um, but if I have to go buy some smart glasses, I'm probably leaning towards the Ray-Bans because they look the part first and foremost. And this is just something that I've always kind of been on a soapbox about is like every time you want to make a wearable, people keep trying to put it on people's face, and that's like the most valuable real estate to a lot of people. So you gotta come with something more than the tech. And I think that that's what they did right is they put Ray-Ban first. Luxottica's now proving why they're valuable in this and they're getting that reward. And it looks like they're also fueling this with a $3.5 billion investment. That's Meta's investment. 3.5 B on some glasses.
Yeah, but I gotta say, I'm curious to get your point about Meta and hardware. but I feel like they're doing a fantastic job.
Oh, that's easy, and I'll lay it out real quick. Meta has been amazing with hardware. They're a great hardware company. They're not a great software company, and I wouldn't have bet that in a million years. They make some really good softwares, but what we've seen currently transpire with situations like the Quest 3 is a really good example. Great piece of hardware, but the store is suffering, and they know this is an issue, right? Like, this is something that I think that hopefully they're actively working on. When you purchase a lot of off-the-shelf technology companies and you have to get them all working together, they don't seamlessly, like, paste together. So, there's a lot of this stuff happening in the background to get those services all working on the same, train, but it isn't quite there. I do think the hardware that they put out, though, is always impressive.
Yeah, and we have Meta Connect coming up, so really curious to see what announcement they have related to the smart glasses, because we know that the first generation was Ray-Bans, like the ones I
Mhm,
have. The
mhm.
second was a partnership with Oakley, which I've heard a lot less about. They look a little bit more sci-fi.
Mm.
You gotta you gotta have to commit when you put those things on compared to like these
That's true
classic
with Oakley,
Wicklers.
though. That's just Oakley as a
That's true.
brand. You have to commit if you're wearing Oakleys. Like,
That's true. But we'll see. So jumping into our last story here, this is all about scratch and stiff billboards in New York City. Have you seen this story? Do you know
no,
about this? Okay.
no.
This is amazing. This is some out-of-home marketing with a twist. So earlier this year, the women's body care brand Billy made a huge billboard that invited people to scratch and sniff an armpit, like a female armpit, all in the hopes of selling deodorant. So in New York City, where people are walking on street level, they put these massive ads up that was basically like a close-up of an armpit. And the actual area was like a pad that if you scratch it, it will emit a smell.
I like nothing about this. No, because okay, first off, New York City is not exactly known for its smells, especially in the summertime. L
Well, it's known for smells, but not those that you want to take in your nose.
right.
Yeah, it was a trip, but look, that happened earlier this year, and since then, other brands have like leaned in and done this. So, beauty brand Smooshy, they're promoting their lip balm and scents, and they did different little smelling bits that went on there. Also, Selena Gomez's Rare Beauty brand is also doing this.
How do you sell this to Selena Gomez? Like, really? I would
Well,
love to be in
okay,
the room. That's like,
yes.
"Okay, listen, here's what we're gonna do."
Well, look, I think here's the why, right? Why does this fall under the category of immersive marketing? Um, it's interactive and it's engaging. And
Yeah,
literally
it's true,
people
it's true.
they lean in, right? And it's different. If you think about the amount of ads that, get force fed to us as we walk down the street or we like scroll our phone or whatever, there's so much noise you got to cut through. Like this literally will pique your curiosity. You're walking down the street, you're like, why is there an armpit there? And it's like smell. It's like hot. So and I lean in, I'm smelling it. And now I'm actually spending time with the brand, with the advertisement, and I'm connected at that point.
We are so past the COVID era. Like, that's what this really tells me is like, "We're there, we made it. Alright, we're back to sniffing billboards. This is fantastic."
Yeah, and that's one interesting thing is that these things have a shelf life. They
Yeah,
can only
yeah,
be scratched and sniffed so many times until they become like dead. And so
yeah.
with this technology, you have to go in and you have to replace those a few times during the life of the when they're running that ad.
No, I get it. It's a smart move. It's different. I always love seeing brands do something that's, like, weird or quirky. Um, just there's
It's
just a part of
different.
me that's like, I'm amazed that they were able to, like, sell the concept because on the face of it, the concept sounds very strange.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, there's another thing that emotionally that's interesting here is that there's a novelty factor.
yeah.
So there's a level of nostalgia for people that are sort of our age. Like we remember those the scratch and sniff ads that were in magazines
Oh, totally.
back in the day.
Yeah.
So it's a callback to that. And then for like younger generations like Gen Z and Gen A that see this, for them it's the first time they've ever done a smell related advertisement. So for them
It's
they're just so
true.
curious.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
look, man,
it's
it
true.
worked. Do you think we'll see more of these sort of smell-based ads in our major cities?
You know what? Why not? Sure. Why not?
I'm here for it. My nose is here for it. Let's keep trucking on this show now. We're going to jump on over to our real-time review. And I, this week, got to check out what Haichu is doing in Fortnite. So
Bless you.
let's go. So for real-time review, I jumped in and I checked out what Haichu is doing in Fortnite. So they have done a branded activation on the UEFN side, not on the Epic side directly. So they've gone the UGC route, which is awesome. This was created by the agency Super League, which is a fantastic team. We've collaborated on a few projects, and I know that also Chartis was a part of this activation as well. Did you see this at all, Lee?
I know this did not make it into my sphere of influence. I missed this one entirely, but yeah, it's great to see a brand like that. That I don't know if like a lot of people are even familiar with Haichu. I love the candy myself, but it definitely
You mean this
is.
candy right here?
Yeah, that one.
I went to the store and I got some Haichu for this very shoot because I am a fan of the candy. It is delicious, right?
It is.
So jumping back over here, this is the third time that Haichu has come to Fortnite. So this is rare because I think a lot of brands will do like a test and learn, or they might come back twice. Rarely do they keep a consistent campaign going. They did essentially integrations, which is a smart route to go. As opposed to building their own game, they partnered with some of the top games in order to get that IP
Yeah.
and capitalize on the concurrent user base and audience that's already in those games. The main game partner was Minigame Box PvP, which is a competitive sort of minigame map where all the players get to vote on the next minigame they're going to play, and they're all competing. Fantastic map. They do a lot of brand integrations. Sawhorse has worked with them several times. Amazing team over there. So they brought Haichu into that map. I jumped in and tried to play, but the way it works is the players vote on one of 3 potential games, and then whoever gets the most votes, they jump in and play. And then the match, only goes for a few minutes, and then you do it again and again and again.
Yeah.
I was in there for a while. Haichu came up as an option. I was voting for it. The other people didn't, so I didn't get a chance to check out that map.
That is kind of one of the risks of a brand doing that in something is like, especially when it's got to be like user-based voting, is you have to get them over the hurdle.
Yeah.
it-
Well, when there's something as UGC and it's open like that, oftentimes you can't really control exactly how you're showing up.
Yeah.
So that is a potential issue. But what was cool about this campaign is beyond that integration, they also did a creator competition. So they kind of like put the word out to the UGC community of Fortnite, and all these different creators built custom maps, and they all competed. And 3 were top winners, and they received funding to create a bigger map and then become part of the campaign officially. So there's some really awesome maps that were made. I jumped into Fruity Frenzy, which essentially is an obby and a minigame. I jumped in there, and honestly, I was the only person in the server. So there's no one else there.
Yeah.
And there was a problem on this one because you need a group to play those games. It's not solo play. So basically, like, I kept getting booted out of those games.
What
So that
hardware
to me,
what hardware did you play on?
I was
What
on
system?
Xbox.
You were on Xbox? Okay.
So yeah, that was a little disappointing. But I jumped into another map, one called Haichu Easy Obby, and this is an obstacle course based map. And this one I had a lot of fun on. This was a solo play, timed obby. And the first thing I noticed when you got inside is like the art is amazing. Like Unreal Engine is beautiful. Like the colors, the art direction that this team brought to it was really impressive. And you look at like the art direction of Haichu, it's like it's very vibrant, very bubbly, very like surreal. it's really great because on platforms like this, you can bring it to life in a supernatural way. You can basically jump into the art direction. You can swim in the the rivers of flavor and whatnot. And the team really brought it to life. It is like pretty awesome. Like I spent time appreciating the art. And then beyond that, they put in vending machines and they put the actual product. They modeled the product in 3D and they put those into the machines. So like there was a great correlation between the actual product. And another thing you could do is check out Chubby, the mascot. He's an NPC in the space. You can go and talk to him. Kind of gives you the direction on what the gameplay is, which is essentially is go on this obstacle course as fast as you can. And it's in this surreal world and you just keep going. So I jumped in and I played, and it starts off being not very challenging. So you can kind of like get through it, which is fun. And then it gets increasingly more difficult as you go through. And I found myself getting so close, but falling off an edge and then wanting to try again and again and again until I landed it. I literally probably spent like 20 minutes playing, and I was completely like engaged. So I think they did a really good job on that. I want to also mention that there's two forms of rewards in this game. The first being players can unlock wearables inside the game that are branded Haichu. And in addition to that, what Super League is doing is they have a loyalty program called Unlockables, which essentially is like you create a Unlockables account off platform on that site. You prove that you did some quests inside the game. You earn points, and then you can redeem those points for like IRL rewards, digital rewards, merch, free candy, stuff like that. So they tied that in. And so to wrap it up, was it innovative? Yes and no. I would say doing integrations on the platform is not innovative. A lot of people do that. It's smart to do it. But what is innovative, in my opinion, was this creator competition. The fact that they really reached out to like the community and they brought them into the conversation. They were all working on different Haichu maps. They were able to reward and finance a few of them. And that's really leveraging the power of UGC. So I feel like this marketing team like really understood what that was and they leveraged that, which I thought was smart. And the last thing is obviously this loyalty program, Unlockables, that exists off platform that Super League has, is interesting and innovative. So 2 thumbs up for me. Props to the team. I got no beef with this activation.
Sounds fun.
All right, well, let's keep it moving. Let's jump over to my interview with our guest from 100 Thieves, Alex Wechsler. Let's go. Today, we're joined with Alex Wechsler, head of studio at the lifestyle and gaming organization 100 Thieves. Alex has written and produced a ton of branded content over the past 10 years. In fact, we even worked together at Sawhorse back in the day. He's also collaborated with top brands like Lexus, Heineken, AT&T, and a bunch more. He lives at the intersection of production, gaming, and innovation. Alex, welcome to the show.
That was no notes. No
No
notes.
notes. That was
Absolutely.
accurate.
That was accurate. That was 100% accurate, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate you having me on this show. And it's just good to link up, Nick.
I know, it's been too long, man. Well, we're
Yeah.
excited to have you on Brands of Play. We appreciate you jumping in. The
Of
first
course.
question I have for you is, what is 100 Thieves? I think a lot of people might just see it as another esports team, and they don't really understand the esports world. So help clarify it for these people.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of placed it pretty perfectly, but 100 Thieves is an esports apparel content brand that spans across all of those. Like, honestly, for a lot of people who don't know, 100 Thieves actually started off as an apparel company. Our founder, CEO, Nate Schott, he was an ex Call of Duty pro, but he also had this huge passion for apparel. And that's where he wanted to start it off. And then obviously it started branching off. So, we're at the cultural center of gaming, apparel, content. And that's kind of how we describe ourselves. I feel like it changes a lot every year of what the ways you could describe 100 Thieves, but that's kind of how I would sum it up.
And as far as like the players and
Mhm.
the teams that you guys represent, I mean, these are some of the best players in the world at some of the top games, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we pride ourselves in. Like, we want to build the best esports teams that we can as possible. Every single esport that we're a part of, whether it's Valorant, Call of Duty, and Apex Legends, Marvel Rivals, a lot more. I could keep going on, but we strive to make the best esports team along with the best esports content that we can make as possible.
Yeah, well, you guys are definitely crushing it in both of those arenas.
Thank you.
But I want
Thank
to take
you.
one step back and sort of talk a little bit about the esports space in general. Can
Mhm.
you describe it and where it is today, and then sort of what opportunities exist for brands who want to be there?
Yeah, I mean, the esports industry is really interesting. It's kind of at an interesting section of its life. There was back, I would say maybe around 2020, 2021, the whole idea that the esports bubble popped. There was a lot of investment in esports. Uh, Probably right around when I jumped in 100 Thieves, which was around 2019. Lots of brands were investing, player salaries were super high. And then basically this esports bubble broke. Brands were a little less willing to put in money because the return on investment just wasn't there. So, of course, when they're struggling, the marketing budget goes down, but then that also cascades to the players, how much they're getting paid, contracts. So there's this big shift in 2020, I think 2021. And what happened, everyone had to kind of reassess how they were approaching one, how are we using brands in our content? Because one of the hardest things about esports is how do you make money also off of viewership. Most people
Hmm.
watch games for free, or esports events for free, and that's why you would see a lot of different esports, such as like Call of Duty, would resort to like franchising. One of the big pulls is, if you have a team. So we have a Call of Duty team, LA Thieves. When you're hosting an event, you're doing it at an arena or whatnot, but it's very difficult. Like, honestly, right now, there's a lot of, depending on the esport, there's a lot of things that are very exciting. And then there's other things that are a bit struggling that, maybe we need to evolve it or we need to move past it.
Yeah, I mean, I want to kind of go back to what you just said recently,
Mhm.
like how they're showing up, how brands are showing up inside of esports. Is there like a direct connection to the way brands show up in standard sports or like more established sports, or would you say the space is different?
It's a little bit of both. So, like I said, it's a little bit different. There are some things that are pretty similar. So, one of the basic ways that we integrate sponsors is, depending on the sport, patches on jerseys. So jersey
Mm-hmm.
patches.
Mm-hmm.
You see that a lot in like NASCAR. You've seen it recently in NBA when they started adding that a couple years ago. Very similar in esports. So that's one thing that kind of follows suit of what traditional sports do. And then there's other ways in terms of, depending on the event, if it is sponsored with or in coordination with, which isn't exactly relegated to the team, but more so the company that's running the esports event. So like if Riot Games is throwing a LTA event, and they're doing it in partnership with X sponsor. Um, I think in terms of pulling it back to the esports orgs, it's you also have those that have the full name rights. So sometimes there's some teams that have, like, for instance, back in the day, there was Team Liquid was named Team Liquid Honda, for
Mm.
instance.
Okay.
So obviously there's a different type of buy-in from Honda on that level versus some others where, sure, we're, in cooperation with them, but it's it kind of works at a different level. So I would say it's very similar to traditional sports, but that's more of on the top level. And then
Mm-hmm.
once you get smaller and you're looking at like player tweets or fun content videos and whatnot. That's how it feels a little bit different.
And more
But
innovative on
yeah,
that
or
side.
innovative. And actually, traditional sports are kind of changing up and bleeding into it. So, for instance, this game Overwatch 2 actually just came out with a bundle because Luka Doncic, he is a huge Overwatch
I
2
heard
fan
that.
who's played. Yeah, so they're actually coming out with a player bundle inspired, or I'm working with Luka Doncic. There was a trailer out for one of the characters. I'm a big Overwatch fan, so I'm a huge nerd for
It's a
that.
dope game.
But that's a really interesting way of how they like integrated a like sports player into their content, um, and created a whole bundle around them. So that kind of intersects with what I'm saying of like even traditional sports and the way that they're including brands or doing brand partnerships are kind of replicating. There's innovation, but it is replicating a bit of what we would do. Like we would have bundles with our esports players. So for instance, one other thing is that on some games like I believe Apex Legends, Overwatch, when Overwatch and the Overwatch League, Call of Duty does this, but they have team bundles. So like we work with Activision to bring our pro teams bundles that players can come in and they select, whether it's also in Valorant, they select, oh, I want 100 Thieves, or I want Optic Gaming, or I want this team or whatnot. I pay like $9.99, and then my character gets to wear what that brand is wearing. I can't
Nice.
remember if that answers the original question. I kind of just like get lost into these. It
No,
was a
no, no, no.
long day yesterday, so
It was pretty
my
broad.
mind is coming back.
I
Okay, cool.
appreciate it. It was good. It's good. So yeah, I mean, just yesterday, you guys partnered with AT&T for Nade Shot's hole-in-one event. Can you talk about what that was, how it went, and how did AT&T like fit into it? How are they benefiting?
Yeah, so literally yesterday, we held our Nashot hole-in-one event, connected by AT&T. Shout outs to AT&T. Amazing sponsor. Love working with them. And it's an event that we run every year for the past 3 years where our CEO, Nate Shot, he's a huge golf fan. And one year he just came to us and was like, guys, I just want to like, we should try to do something cool with golf. He was doing his golf vlogs and stuff. And so we came up with the idea of doing a hole-in-one challenge. Basically, let's give you 8 hours because obviously we can't be there for like 24 or 48 hours. We'll find a golf course, and for 8 hours, you'll get to try to hit a hole in one. Um, you can bring some friends, all this other stuff. So I believe this was pitched through a partnership team, and we pitched it out. And I can't remember if we pitched it out to all of our like endemic sponsors or if I think we had a situation with AT&T where, there was opportunities for certain tentpole events, and this kind of fell in that realm. And so once it all got signed up, we got everything good to go. We worked with AT&T, and the big pitch for us was at that time IRL streaming was starting to get big, and now it's like absolutely huge. And so we wanted to evoke that same feeling from Matt whenever he would, at that time, starting to IRL golf stream. Let's bring that, but then let's also bring traditional sports broadcasting to it.
Mhm.
And let's mirror those 2 together. And so what we did is at the time, and AT&T was all on board because obviously this is what I talk about where there's flexibility and a crossroads is if we were just doing this regular IRL stream and it was Matt's huge event connected by AT&T, we wanted to take it one step further, do something that nobody else has really done, and AT&T really loves things that are premium. And so this was kind of the crossroads of that. And so we hired this team. At the time, they were called Lion Media. Now they're called Live Media. Huge shout outs to them. They're amazing. And they have a slew of crew that have worked with MLB, uh, uh, NBA, college sports, all of those. So all of them are pros in that. They do that. And we brought them into our world. And so We worked with them, and basically we have like the shot tracer, like
Mm.
that they use on the PGA tours, and seeing that in a golf stream like that we had was like so strange because it was like, oh my God, this looks like a professional like
Like
PGA
event.
tour event.
Yeah.
Exactly. We had the drone cam,
Yeah, it
custom
looks sick.
graphics. And so what we did with AT&T, obviously the big part of the process was how do we make these graphics like this bar that shows how much time is left, how many balls are hit and whatnot, and have both the flavor of 100 Thieves and also everything that AT&T
Mhm.
liked. And so that first year, it took a while because we were just trying to figure out how things were working. I think in the pre-programming process, again, there was a lot of give and take because this was our first time with AT&T working on this project. And so they were worried at first, oh, is this going to be too boring? Because if it's just Matt hitting a hole in one, like, and we tried to push that there's going to be a lot of banner. You watch this IRL stream, that's the part of IRL streaming that kind of carries it is like, doesn't need to be so, not the word produced, but like scripted.
Mhm.
He's a yapper. He's gonna yap, and his audience loves the yapping. So we figured out this balance. We had a couple of segments that we had pre-built, and we were like, if it becomes a little stale, we'll throw these in and whatnot. And so we did that the first year. The first year he hit the hole in one, 79 shots in, which was insane. We had a contingency of like, what if he hits the hole in one too early? And we
On the
talked about it
first
with
shot.
AT&T. We're like, go for a second one, I guess. Like,
I
I
gotta
don't
keep the
know.
stream up.
Exactly. Keep the stream up. We wanted to keep it going for 8 hours. So we just kept working with AT&T. Um, it showed that he could carry it too without like a ton of different segments. And then that first year was so successful. We did a second year. Second year was really interesting because Tim the Tap Man was on it as like a co-host, big streamer. And the reason why we were able to get that was that he at the time was an AT&T ambassador as well. He was also a friend of Matt's, so it just kinda lined up perfectly. So, again, using the advantage of working with AT&T to our benefit of being able to bring somebody that big because he would also stream it from his platforms. So, we'd have 5 streams going out because Matt would stream on Twitch, YouTube, he would stream on Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter, X. Um, and that one was the same process with AT&T. Ultimately, coming to this year, there was a little bit of nervousness just because it was just gonna be Matt as well, obviously a couple of guests, but, uh, everything I think went really, really well. Our viewership was actually a lot higher than the first year where it was also just Nate Shot. I believe we peaked at the 14th most viewed English live stream on YouTube, which is
Wow.
really cool. And I think,
Congrats.
thank you. We also hit, once the video was done, 47 on trending on gaming. So very exciting stuff. I think it went really well. The only thing that didn't go well is that we didn't hit the hole in one. So it was the first year we didn't hit a hole in one. But you know what? I went up to Matt and I said, you know what? A trilogy wouldn't be great if the ending was all the same in every movie.
Well, now it's
So
like you can do it again next year, and it's like
exactly.
he's gotta make it happen this year. He's gotta
Exactly.
redeem himself, you know?
Exactly.
That's amazing. Well,
Exactly.
congrats on that. It's super
Thank
dope.
you.
And what you guys are doing is fantastic. I've been a fan of the brand, and I think, it's you're upholding it very well from
Thank
an
you.
outsider's perspective, and
I
it's great to
appreciate
see
that.
all the growth and success. So, thank you, Alex, for coming on the show today. We appreciate you. And you know what? I have one more question though. When do we get to
Yeah.
work together again? It's been way
Okay,
too long.
we need to figure something out because we're always like 85% of the way, and then something
Right.
comes up. We'll figure something out because I'm loving what you guys are doing on like Fortnite and whatnot.
Right on, man. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
let's get creative. I'm sure there's lots of
Yeah,
opportunities.
definitely.
But thanks, Alex. And let's go back to the show.
Appreciate it, Nick.
Awesome. And I'm back with Lee. Lee, that was an awesome interview. I really love what 100 Thieves is doing. I think they've sort of transcended this concept of going far beyond esports and now becoming more of like a cultural brand that
Oh
speaks to
yeah,
this space
definitely.
at large.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're, pretty amazing
Well, if you go to their
story.
website, it's like the brand itself before you even know about the gaming. They've got cool hoodies. They've got, you know what I mean? Like it's very interesting.
The esports in general has had its sort of like waves of popularity,
Mhm.
and it seems like it's a part of pop culture and it's not going away. I don't know if it's fully found its final footing yet, but time will tell.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think it has, but we are seeing where I think gameplay interests are, and that top-down strategy-based esports does seem to be waning a little bit. I think Valorant, like what 100 Thieves is doing, is gonna, like, stick around. Like, those first-person shooter type approaches with, like, your PvP games are gonna continue to be really good. But yeah, we're seeing the shift in the dynamic of people's interests. It's gonna
Yeah,
happen.
we'll stay on it. So now it's time for the end of the show, one of my favorite sections,
I
hit, miss,
hated writing
bet.
this section.
You
I
hated
hated
this.
I it was so hard. It was so hard.
We really try to make things hard on the Brands and Play podcast. We push ourselves every week to do
It
unnecessary
pushed.
work.
It
Well,
pushed.
I'm going to pass the mic to you because you're going to own this section. So let's go to hit, miss, bet.
All right, first one, hit. Google, they in their AI tools they've released a try on function within like their phones and things like that using AI to
Mm-hmm.
put clothes on a person. You take a photo of yourself. It really can be just about any photo of you, and you put it into the system, and then you basically can see what you look like. It does an amazing job. I mean,
Fast, too.
it's fast. It's connected to a store, so there's a purchase point of sale system that it goes through. I am feverishly now that I've kind of like learned about this, trying to figure out, wait, how do you onboard brands into this? It is really genuinely interesting. It's one of those rare points because for people who know who I am and my like personal brand and or like you follow me on LinkedIn or you listen to the podcast or whatever like that, I think everyone kind of knows I'm not like the nicest person when it comes to like the AI takeover. But this is a fantastic example of the right way to do it, especially like looking at what generative AI could be used for. That doesn't take away from anything. Absolutely love this. Huge hit for me. Miss. This was the hardest one because it was like drinking from a fire hose. I don't know what brands are doing right now, but there are so many misses that have happened in like the last 2 weeks that I just had to pick one. And I am sorry, but Swatch Watch, you got this one. They're under a big issue, controversial issue. They did a campaign. One of their models did something that made it into the campaign that is being interpreted as racist.
Yeah,
Um,
it was the slanted eye thing, right?
yeah, and you just are kind of left wondering what, like, what, what?
In what like boardroom does the marketing team go, "Oh, that's edgy. People are really gonna connect with this semi potentially
Well, it was
racist."
like we kinda watched all the blowback from American Eagle in the last week, and then, like,
Right.
Swatch Watches came in, it's like, "Hold my beer," and I just was kind of left going, "I don't I ugh,
Look,
y'all."
agree with you, that is a miss. It's definitely a fail. I think, like, it's you just as a brand, you don't really touch race. I
Yeah.
especially in today's age, like, I don't know. I don't see how you ever win when you try to get too edgy like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that these things do happen. I think every brand has had a whoops-a-daisy, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. What
Um,
about your bet?
my bet MIT put out a really interesting study showing that a lot of companies making massive AI investments right now have pretty much a 95% failure rate. This is something that I have been beating a drum about, even to the point now that Meta has stopped hiring for their AI departments in a reorg to figure out, okay, what do we do now? That doesn't mean that AI is failing for Meta. That just means that there's been a hiring freeze that they've admitted to. uh, that means they're trying to figure out a bigger scramble here. For those who don't know, Meta has been doing a lot of poaching from other
Mm-hmm.
AI companies and some crazy numbers. Look, AI is, I'm not sitting here saying there's a bubble and AI is going away. That's not what I'm saying. I am firmly on the side of, if your company can leverage this new computational tool to turn your staff into superhumans, do it. If you think you're going to replace your staff, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
And that's sadly what a lot of board of directors and CEOs have done, and they've made these they've been sold on something, right? Sold on a dream. And maybe that dream could come true, but it doesn't come true with people, without people.
Well,
And
it's too
so,
early. It's way too early
yeah,
for that, to
yeah.
be like, cool, lost this entire department because the AI does that now. That is like a ludicrous thing to say. And I feel like, it just comes down to education. I think the C-suite doesn't really get AI and how to best leverage it.
Well, right. And so AWS, the CEO of AWS, had a statement that came out, I think either yesterday or the day before, where he basically said, if you're replacing your junior staff with AI, that's the dumbest idea. To quote, the dumbest idea. And so you question and go, well, why? If it can do that? Because where are you going to get your senior talent? I've been saying this for a year. If you start replacing your lower talent and you're not training lower talent to become senior talent, you're next on. Like, no one lives forever. So where are you going to get your senior talent from that point forward? It's just a short-sighted thing. It's like replacing your editors in, the year 2002 because spell check came out,
Right.
right? Like that would have been dumb. I'm sure someone did it, but you don't know who they are because they're gone now. Yeah, don't do that. And I think we're going to see my bet is you're going to see a lot of companies walk back these strategies. It's going to devalue a lot of what we think AI is currently valued at. And it'll be a leveling. We will see a rehiring market because it does not replace people. It replaces task management. It replaces output. It can turn those people into superhumans, but it still needs the people.
I fully agree with that prediction. I think you're right. I think we are going to see a walk back. I also think we're going to see a lot more adoption as well. I think a lot
Yeah,
of roles,
totally.
they're going to be for even people that aren't like comfortable with AI right now. They will have to start using it in their daily work life, and they'll see the benefits.
The best way, and I think Apple really hit the nail on the head. And I'm not an Apple fanboy, but I do think they did it right with Apple AI. Because they integrated it in a way where it was a tool that you ended up using within your operating system while you're writing or doing things, but they're not being like, you're using AI. It's
Right.
just like this natural progression of how you interact with your computer. And once we're doing it and we don't know we're doing it, that's when it has arrived. But if you got to sell me on it's a completely new tool, you're just doing it wrong.
And also, that's just hype. If you're
Yeah.
like, hey, we're doing this because it's AI, that
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense. You
Yeah.
should be doing it because it's the right thing to do that helps the business move forward. And who cares what's powering that,
I've
right?
been on so many calls and like these mastermind sessions where people have asked me, oh, I'm wanting to build this thing. I'm trying to leverage a startup that leverages AI to da 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 da. I'm just like, look, in 2021, were you trying to build a startup and your whole marketing thing was the blockchain? Because that's what it feels like, right? I'm not
Right.
saying the blockchain doesn't have value. It's just not that interesting of a tool. If you can do it, I don't
Yeah.
know.
I share your frustration there. But Lee, fantastic job with that hit miss bet. I appreciate it. That's a wrap for this week, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in. And thank you, Lee, for wingmanning me on Brands and
Anytime.
Play. I feel like I owe
Anytime.
you one.
Nah. If you ever have an open slot, I'll come and hang out. It's fun.
Well, you've got an open invitation. Excited for next week for another fire episode. We'll keep you guessing on who the guest is. And that's a wrap for this episode.
All right, Edward, please read us out.
And that was Brands in Play. Thank you for joining the podcast where we explore immersive marketing and the people who are leading it. Hosted by Albane Prioux and Nic Hill. Our show today was produced by myself, Eddie Regu, with creative direction by Joey Jerder and Javed Kazmi. and audio engineering by Somran Q, as well as a massive shout out to Ben Caro. Be sure to join us every week for brand new episodes.
The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views, policies, or positions of host employers. The information shared during this podcast is based on personal experience and publicly available information and is intended for informational purposes only. Any references to specific platforms, companies, or partnerships are made in a personal capacity and do not imply endorsement, partnership, or official association with any organization mentioned.